Welcome back, everybody. Game number 2 is about to begin. Team BDS versus Outsiders, and one Russian team has taken an L already today. What happens for our second big fight today for Outsiders against BDS? And Outsiders are able to defeat M&M in the last Playday. A lot of questions in our minds. Have they warmed up enough against BDS with Likefak?
GOAT.
Who's now back on the squad, at least on the squad, and running it back for Playday number 3. Third debut, would you believe, Jack? Let's talk about BDS.
I can't wait for every debut of his. He's the GOAT.
Let's talk about BDS. What's going on with this squad?
Look, this squad is back. It's probably the word to say it is. You know, we talked about this squad for years and years and years and years about how they were Europe's best hope. Then they fell off a cliff after Six Invitational 2022. Didn't look too great. I say didn't look too great. Still went to Charlotte. Still got to quarterfinals. But by their standards, not too great. They bring in the GOAT. They make a roster change. They bring in Likefak. Obviously, Rafael lost his place in the team, and they look unreal.
Look at the stats on that. That is vile. Absolutely vile.
Yeah.
I said last split that I don't think we've ever seen a rookie season like what Split done.
Yes.
Honestly, I can't believe it's coming so quick that maybe we could be on for another one that could maybe top Split. The way he's playing, honestly, you have to say at this stage, BDS, they're in the contention for the top 4. I think that's in everyone's mind that if this team doesn't get top 4, I know it's 2 play days in, but it will be a huge upset if they don't.
These two are both slobbering at it, like, oh my god, I can't believe it. They just, you say Bushbe, like your jaws are on the floor every time we talk about it.
We're fans of teams, like me and Jack are, like, we have our favorites, and that's just the way. And obviously, I'm not going to hide my favorites. You'll see later on with a certain team as well.
Yeah,
but,
we know.
Like,
why does the English broadcast have to be the only one that's unbiased?
There is a reason why to love them, though.
Oh, I've never been claimed unbiased.
Don't care.
They're really enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
They're a really enjoyable team to watch in their current setup. The past couple of stages have been rough for them, but now they're looking great.
Well, let's see if they can continue that today against their opponents, Outsiders. And what would they have to bring for this Playday here demo? Because they beat M&M.
They did.
Fair and square.
Yeah, caught M&M lacking. I think M&M probably went into that matchup probably expecting, we should be beating these guys after the way Outsiders played in the first Playday, which was not good. I think Outsiders, really there was nothing that you could say that they did okay at on Bank against Wolves. Wolves just kind of tore them apart. And I don't think anyone expected Outsiders to then have that bounce back and go and beat M&M, so they do have a bit of momentum. However, this is a much different team. You know, like we mentioned, it's going to be BDS. It's going to be a team that's going to be up there competing for titles and Outsiders. It is a big challenge today. But there is nothing stopping this team. If this team goes in the same way they did against M&M and play very loose, which I think was kind of different the way they played Wolves, they seem very uptight. I think we start to see a bit more of an influence with Dan coming into the roster. You could see there was more of these plays being made. I think that if Outsiders can just focus on getting out of the kind of static meta where they're kind of waiting and waiting and waiting, then the time's gone, and they actually be a little bit more proactive in the server, this team could have something cooking.
And I think that's one thing that Dan said in the interview last week is they're aware of that issue. They're working on that issue. I think for Outsiders, the big thing for me is they don't control enough of the rounds. They don't control enough of the games. Whether they win or not is usually a determination on whether their opponent has turned up or not. And that's one thing that they need to work on, is controlling those rounds.
All right, then how does this game shape up? Our map is up and ready for us, so lobby's also pretty much ready, so we can go straight into it. BDS having the last say, Clubhouse. Ooh, BDS and Clubhouse, but they have Outsiders on the other side. They start an attack.
If I wanted to lose a game of Rainbow Six Siege, I would take BDS to Clubhouse. Do you remember when the last time BDS lost Clubhouse was, Milosh? Or Demo, for that matter?
If you want to lose a map or a game of Rainbow Six Siege, you play against BDS regardless.
Yeah, but especially on Clubhouse.
Why?
It's their number one favorite map. They're unbeaten on it in something like the last 12 matches they've played. The last time they lost it was against G2, when G2 had Kayak, Yonker, and Hungary on the 5th of July 2021. They've played it 31 times in official games, won 25, drawn once, and lost only 6. That goes back to 2020. BDS are the best team in Europe, could be in the world on Clubhouse, and I don't know why you'd take them there. And Wolves did it last week and lost as well.
Do I have to say anything else? I think he's kind of... what can
I don't understand this map ban, because I also have it as the 8th preference map for Outsiders as well.
There's some data at least here to work. You know, you're looking at what Wolves did, but Wolves are a warmed up and ready team. That's not the case for Outsiders. They talked about it, both highlighted, and we had it in the interview last time with Dan. There's a lot of things that are up
They're
in
still
the air.
a work in progress. I think Wolves, you can see they're a finished product at this stage.
Yeah. There you go, Howlin' Loud. Game is ready though, so Demo, Fresh, thank you so very much for getting it all together. We're going to toss it to our casters that are having fun on the other side of the studio. Hap and Em, enjoy.
Thank you very much, Milos. And the last time we were seeing BDS go to Clubhouse, I said something along the lines of, you never take a Russian team to Clubhouse, but you never take BDS to Clubhouse either. And back then, it was BDS who came out on top. So will history repeat itself? Chances are that indeed it will, given the statistics.
I mean, history isn't even a matter of repeating itself. History is apparently a finite resource of statistics, and the finite resource currently sort of says, yeah, it's just all BDS. It's all BDS and has been all BDS for a very long time. And we can sort of stretch back and say there's one or two. At this point, we can call them statistical anomalies. When you play a map so well that being beat on it is an anomaly, that's when it becomes a danger to take a team there. That's what this is.
Well, maybe Outsiders has something up their sleeves.
Oh, they better.
To,
They better have multiple things up their sleeves.
Every sleeve needs to have something up them there to, preferably arms as well, by the way, otherwise it's quite difficult to play. But they need to have lots of tricks up their sleeves to make sure that they can throw BDS off. And they kind of expected a knock band there. Saw some cheers from Lems and Likafak. So, yeah, so far everything is going as expected for them.
Okay, there is obviously changes onto this side in the roster, and as they talked about before, it's Outsiders trying to find the rhythm, trying to find the rhyme. BDS, they're trying to find precious 3 points right now, especially on the back of Heroic, putting themselves a little bit further up the top of the board now with the 3 that they claimed. It makes things a little bit more dangerous for the rest of the board. There's also, obviously, on the side of Outsiders, they want to try and pull themselves and claw and fight up as well before the middle of the pack starts to suffer. If you can't catch first, you may as well wound who's currently in second.
Yeah, that's it. You try and keep everybody as close to you as you possibly can and overtake them when the opportunity arises. This is one of those opportunities for Outsiders to wound BDS, take some points away, let them struggle and fight for a major spot at the end of this stage. Because that is, of course, the goal. They missed out on the major. Hence the changes that came in. Hence Likafak, which has made his debut here on the European League. Now on his 3rd debut, if we continue that tradition. From, what was it, 2021 when we did that? Secret? Either way.
A while
Long
ago.
time ago. I'm starting over the basement. It is going to be Outsiders on that defense, and that means that BDS will have to solve the puzzle that will be tossed up against them. Now, looking over to the left side of your screen, you can see the operators there. We do have Playday on the hard breach.
What?
Yeah, just surprising, I know. We do have Ash and Sledge for soft breaching capabilities. A Jackal just to be repicked in to get rid of some of those roams.
Oh, look at that.
And a second hard breach to be brought out as a Lems goes to the Hibana instead and Playday to the Thermite.
Yeah, the double down on the hard breach onto the Church and Arsenal side. It's not the most sort of outstanding pick, but it could be one of the potential plays against the fact that we do have the Kaid on the board. It makes the gamble on those hatches. The run around isn't just against impact tricking and trying to play against those burning out X-Kairos on the far side. You've got to make sure that you have a secondary option because you know that that's probably going to be a bit of a longer game than the others want. It's also the usage across the top. They give themselves that stretch, that attention. They can play towards those loose threads, those players, all the way towards the top of the board. BDS, they can be a team that sees an opportunity and decides to take it, but they also like this, the thorough nature of what can be applied to Clubhouse.
Now you can see the Outsiders have thought this through. They know how BDS likes to approach this side, going from top to down. So you're seeing some serial laser gates deployed, some reinforcements as well, all just to slow down this approach that BDS wants to go for. You need to be careful though. It's a fine balance between these as Kefang does drop down, does not want to go for the gunfight. They're basically already inside.
This is what I talked about with BDS. Sometimes they'll see an opportunity and decide to take it. Shaiko on the Ash finds the first, or actually has the cover as Playday gets the lock in. They've got the kit. They're going to keep pushing around the side, get a second drop down there on the far side. Don't want to overextend. Not going to go for the blood. Instead for the plant itself, the hatch is being broken above the side of blue. Shaiko with the cover, the swing round gets dropped, but it's a post plant. Now with all the hatches locked in, there's at least one more for the side of BDS. It's a 3 versus 2, and Milan finds himself late to the party. He gets almost the stretch and extension. They've tucked themselves around into the far corner, always has the pickup. with the last of that. Now Renshiro, all that's left, holding off this front line that's being pushed. The first is his, the second just sees the barrel of the gun, the third has slipped his way through but reveals themselves with the spray through. 17 seconds though, just misses the head, the pop, the shoulder, then a shimmy round on the other side. Milon is a hell of a player in these sort of engagements. He's just going to see if he can hold off now as we pass the threshold. Misses the fight, and BDS with a Renshiro 1 versus 3 technical clutch, but time is that 6th man, and it comes through there.
The decisive factor, all he could really do there is either go for the stick or he should have gone for the fight earlier on. Hope that the Vulcan canister popped earlier was going to be moving him out of position, but it was just a little safe space right behind the border, allowing him to continue to fight as he did. And BDS, they saw the opportunity, they managed to take it with both hands, get that plant down, and a 1v3 clutch at the end with a bit of help of the time. Now, top floor up next, not running it back here on the Outsiders camp. Wanting to make sure that they keep their enemies guessing as well with the Cade coming out. Now, this is something I want to talk about because, of course, we have the Impact EMPs now. We didn't see them last round, but they have limited range. And that means that if it's not bandit wires on it, you kind of need to realize where the Cade Claw is located. If the Cade Claw is all the way on the top, you need to be tossing the EMP impact at the top. The bottom will not get it. If it's at the bottom, same thing as well. You got to throw below it. And that means if there is going to be 2 Cade Claws, you cannot toss out 2 impact EMPs right after another. So technically, Pasha can keep this wall closed successfully if he plays it well.
You got to give a lot of credit in the previous round as well to Outsiders to go 2 bodies down, and both of them being some of your site control, one of them rotating background in the plant position, and still bring it back to a 1 versus 1, technically a 3 versus 1, but I think up to that point you've got to compliment how they responded. It was just that final push over the end, and Shiro had a position and had their number and had a little bit more that sort of cool, calm control we've expected from him over the years. Here, Outsiders, a shaken first round, but more than enough time to get their heads sort of screwed on. They were close enough. Close enough doesn't put the butter on the toast, as we saw in the first game earlier on today for the other CIS region team. Can they be a little bit of a break of that unfortunate tradition today?
Definitely try to, but statistics do not help them. They need to be the anomaly, as we mentioned it before. Give BDS a loss after such a long streak. And after you just seen, well, they took both hands onto that opportunity they had. They'll continue to do so. And otherwise, they'll just methodically clear out this map like they've done hundreds of times before, if not thousands even, with all the scrims taken into account. That's Rask with the very first.
Great opening couple of rounds so far for Rask. Obviously pulled 2 bodies in the first and finds the opener here. Shaiko removed without a proper scratch on the player who's actually drifted himself out of the position. He's not going to stick around because he realizes if that's the first taste, he doesn't fancy the full bite. Instead, he's going to sit, let the meal rest, and then have the fight on the side itself. Dan, he's round on the back of Strip here. He sees the door's been opened. Has he gone unchecked? This could be down to Lickifak. He's also potentially going to suffer the pressure here. You can see that they've called that there's a player that's made their route through here. Milon's holding close. Lickifak's going to play the grenades underneath towards the player inside the bathroom. Doesn't quite get the angle from the back of that breach, but doesn't want to sit around to find out if anyone else heard him.
Now, still Dan on that flank. Near the strip club, is trying to move out. Drone's not in place for BDS to find out where he is. He's playing very patiently here, doesn't want to make too much sound. It's the drone out, that's the kill. Dan will find him, that's a second entry.
Very well played there by Dan. He was untested inside strip, and the grenade doesn't quite get the claw. Oh no, for the compliments paid towards the team earlier in their drive towards the site there. It's one of those rarest seen problems. The claw remains safe, tucked in the top of the red line. That gives it a little bit more protection from any of the fragmentation grenades. Not all, but enough. And enough now, 20 seconds. They're putting pressure onto the windows of the site itself. Always still has a back line. That is going to be a mirror window that stays solid. Lems with a huge rotation. It's whether he even makes it towards the site by the time he finally gets there. Up the top of the stairs, the spray comes across the board. It's Playday inside the site, but he gets caught out. It's a 4 versus 1. Lems finally finds the end of the tail. But at that point, the round is theirs. 1-1.
Always wondering as well where Lems was coming from at that moment in time. Basically, the round already over, just a couple of seconds left on the clock, and It comes in from that back, wasn't in the right position. As you said, a very long rotate. Was never going to be in time for the end of the round there. And Outsiders, they will find their first defensive round. Equalize that score. Back to Church and Arsenal. They seem to want to go. See if they can actually lock it down a little bit better now. Close up these gaps a bit more tight. Allow, or not allow BDS rather, to move in as aggressively as they did before. Force them to go top down, not just straight into the side.
I mean, even then, last time we were here, don't get me wrong, it turned into a sort of 3 versus 1 post plant that Ranchiro clutched out by a difference of about 2 seconds. It really could have, and maybe in some people's books should have been, a 2-0 currently to Outsiders. I guess at the same breath, you're saying, well, BDS, they got the plant down and took the first 2 bodies. It should have been their round anyway. It's a game that goes back and forth forever. Yeah. Either way, Outsiders will definitely be in the camp of this should be 2-0. Let's try and make it that. Let's try and pull ourselves into that advantage spot here. The repeat down, as you said, they're going to see if they can try and keep a little bit more awareness.
Setting themselves up for a spawn peak, opening up those doors are going to be alerting any attackers moving through. At least let them know, hey, someone was here. We might want to get some drones out, make sure it's going to be absolutely clear. We do not have to worry. See it there happening. Drones currently trying to spot out the Melusi. Shaka does exactly that, but loses his drone in the process.
Lem's going for the call and the control. He's holding the rotate, but it's Dan that gets the opener. Lickifak, 2 rounds in a row. And Dan is the one that has reigned supreme. That is a huge blow for, if we're going to talk about statistical anomalies, there's one before Dan finds his second. Great rotate. The calls came through. He had the awareness of the location of the player and just had the crouch to get the angle and the connection with him too. Once again, Outsiders have found the 2 opening bodies, puts themselves into the 5 versus 3. The fight is on the site, and it's Ranchiro, where he had the moment of magic before. Gets one, gets the spray through, but it doesn't quite have the full connection. Let's take care of that. The Banshee gone. A little bit more peppered pressure as Playday wants to try and tuck himself into the site.
So be careful though, there's a man prone underneath the table that could have a crossfire. Shaka just runs in and gets taken out. Playday with a refrag coming through. A great frag grenade tossed in by Ranchiro. Has a second one. If he manages to land that, that could be game changing. But it's a 1v2 situation for him now. With the L85, there is fire on the other side though. Cannot move through. Needs to wait patiently. 90 seconds. Both his entries are being covered right now by the side of Outsiders.
That's it. Similar story as the last time, except he doesn't have that 6th man of time on his side. At least there's the kit in pocket. It's not too big of a stretch, but the fight and the pressure is the one that's really applying that. It's such an awkward angle to try and swing onto. He doesn't know that the rotates come through. He doesn't know that they've got themselves restructured. Both of them close to the door. The width is being applied by the hammer. Tries to draw some of this attention. 20 seconds has ticked away at this moment in time, and he doesn't have anything else really to work with apart from the hope. Doesn't pan out. Outsiders pull into the lead, 2-1.
Just the lag spotted there as the sledge moved through. And they take that lead. Again, could have been 3-0 if they managed to get the clutch going a little bit quicker, or the 3v1 play onto Ranchiro playing in blue just before that. This time they shut him down, not allow him to get any more damage done than he already did. And CC and Cash will be up next. Now, this side is difficult, we have to say. It used to be the top played side in Europe and everywhere you would go, but slowly but steadily it started shifting towards the attackers, as it is just too difficult to get hold of. You open up that double wall that Rask is currently reinforcing, you take control of the rafters and the garage by either placing grenades or firebolts onto the player that is playing there, and suddenly you have the majority of that side under control, at least for a safe plant. And that is what makes it so difficult for defenders to hold on to it, because really all you have is garage and the top of red stairs maybe that stop that plant from happening.
BDS severely missing the prominence and importance of Shaiko and Lickifak. Currently, they haven't been able to get their teeth into the gun engagements of this game. And yeah, they're pushing and trying to put the pressure and make things happen. We saw it even in the most recent encounter of either of them, of Shaiko driving from the bottom of blue, trying to swing around onto the door and start things happening. That is their job. But unfortunately, things just aren't really happening for them. The hold here, the claws, they're just trying to get the perfect spot. It's tricky, but it does finally pan out at this point. Played either side. The drone roll underneath. They'll just get the idea. LM's taking damage. because he tucked himself in there, unfortunate. But the Maverick can start buzzing away at the wall.
He's going to start slowly opening that up. Rask wants to get a C4 out the other side. Garage is being opened up by Playday. Now that does offer them some width to try and take control of that garage we just spoke about before. But this double wall is going to be the main priority. They want to make sure this opens up. And of course they can do that by making it soft, which seems to be the ID that BDS has. So Maverick right there from the bottom of it. And then a simple soft breach will just open it up. Oh, didn't do it yet.
Spray through. It's Rasky suffering. Just from the angle, I assume, being held from the far end. It's broken apart and popped, and now they can try and drive that, whether it was the pre-fire onto the C4, played by Ranchero or not. Either way, Rask has pulled himself away, and the C4 does not net anything. Liquefact is watching from underneath for the swing round. They can try and apply some pressure. It is a step-by-step process, and as you can see, he's hoping that Milan drifts outside a lounge and gets himself into a little bit too tight of a situation. There it is. The reveal of the player paying attention. Milan tucks himself a little bit closer towards home, and then even closer back towards the top. He realized just how much pressure was around him, and he doesn't want to be there when it actually comes to a pass.
That bottom floor control, that's fine. They can have that as long as they still have the garage and the top itself under lock and key. And of course, always playing from the mezzanines, playing from the rafters has a bit of an angle he can use as well onto Liquefact, who's about to be moving through here, but the timing could not be worse on Always' side there. Watches the door as soon as he gets swung on.
Blinded out by the top. This grenade, I think it might get caught by one more. There it is. They're going to have to put the pressure and swing. They're able to still survive as Liquefact goes down, but Renchiro's grenade finally pops the final problem player, Shaiko. He's holding off this rotation. They had a cool idea that Dan might have been making a bit of movement, but he's actually going to pull himself away. Realized that he can't quite take the full fight himself, so with 30 seconds, put the pressure towards the site. They've got Garage, they've got the split. Now they've just got to see if they can try and get it dropped and planted on the far end as smoke pops. And everybody's stacked up by the side. Shaiko goes down in the sprayed engagement, and Dan gets the Lems outside the breach. Suddenly they've lost a lot of control. Renchiro's got to try and find the bite underneath itself. The pick back up will come through, but look at the timer and look at the canisters still painting the plant spot with everything in danger. Dan gets a triple for the round himself, hopped into the smoke. Playday, he cannot stick it there as one more forces him into the guns of Milan. Renchiro up the back stairs gets nothing. And there is a one more round for Outsiders.
Well done by them there. They knew exactly what they were up against. They lost the garage. What you do after that is stop them from pushing right behind that server stack. Getting the swing onto a Lems who was playing on that balcony, absolutely crucial, because suddenly you allow yourself to peek in again. They do no longer have that cover from outside that stops any flank or any push to come through. Of course, they didn't use it in the end, but they had the opportunity to. And that really forced them to play it through that one window, as they haven't made another opening. That eventually led to their downfall. Outsiders leading 3-1. Supposedly, according to the desk, BDS is back. This map they should not be losing. But so far, Outsiders on their defense, as we said, is getting most of the rounds. And they're looking quite good. But this is something we said about Outsiders as well the past two Playdays. There's a lot of potential in the lineup.
Oh, yeah.
It just needs to click. And once it does, there might be no stopping them.
I mean, there's... You hate to say it, but you cannot write off the fact that there are champions amongst the roster.
Yeah.
You cannot write off the fact that there are names that people have considered potential champions amongst the roster. You never want to say the forbidden S word of Super Team. You never want to say it
loud.
Because if you say it too loud, then the team falls apart. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying I'm not saying it, but I'm not saying it.
No, it's clear you're not saying it.
I'm saying it.
It's just saying some people might say it.
Some people might say it.
Yes.
3-1. Outsiders. They've been able to try and get a bit of a hold of this game so far. They are on their defense, but Club has a little bit of a back and forth history. I think what we're missing right now from BDS is a little bit more of BDS.
It's on the middle of the hallway there. I'm not actually sure if the Impact EMP can reach it. Like, if we can go down one floor, you see it's down in front of the... Okay, well, this can actually reach it. Good solution here to the problem that arose. And that means the wall will be opening up. Because I saw Dokby, I saw Lems coming in with the Impact EMP. He's like, well, I can't reach that, so can't do it. So instead, you just swing it instead. It works as well.
Compare it to what we saw last time around, where 30 seconds they tried to roll a grenade through and it didn't quite have the catch, and then they just had to pull away. There's a bit of pre-fire and pressure. They had the idea on Rask. This is more of the BDS that I guess the desk expected, and we kind of wanted to see here. They are playing well against the utility game. They seem to have a bit of that drive and focus now towards a bit more of a unified idea of how to pull apart their opponents, which is a better turn of face than the previous 3 rounds in a row where that's really steadily drifted away from them. Likefak, he's still looking for his opening impact across this game. He played this game before with Dan off into the side of Strip, who I believe is there once again. There is at least a player inside Strip for now, but will he be able to pull off the same magic?
It's the big question. Phone calls are going off, though. That's definitely given away something, but Likefak more worried about the player right up, like above him. There. Yeah.
Cannot hear a call under the sweet, sweet tunes of Strip.
Definitely helps, at least slightly. He's rotated off here, looking for a different player, and we'll find Rask as well, pushing up these back stairs, but they've still left up the roamer, Dan, and he's now going in from below, trying to regain as much ground as possible to see what is truly clear or whatnot.
Milan takes care of Alems outside on the bedroom window itself. They're trying to get some revenge and spraying it towards that little tucked-in area, but Breeday's the next to suffer a shoulder of damage. They've got to try and move behind this, and Shaiko gets Milan. As I said, he's the one that pulls the movement and makes things happen. Pasha with the spray through the soft, and there's Dan up the back stairs, gets one more, but they're getting themselves planted on the site itself. Shaiko, well, he said that that's no way to go through. The C4 doesn't quite get the catch, but always gets a kill. Suddenly it's a 3 versus 1. Shaiko outside. He's the only one left. Gets a rotate and gets a little bit past the fight. Wins it. Hops back out the window, repositions. They're going to see if they can hold on to this kit. The cover's coming through. The plays behind the hard wall. He's been able to slip himself through. Gets one more kill. A 1 versus nobody. Dan, wait for the fire. Takes a couple of bits of damage. He had more time. Then the rush put it across the board, but outsiders pull it back, and Dan the man, he feels back.
For a second there, I was afraid he would just jump back into the fire or roast himself. And still give the round out to BDS. That would be a very, very sad ending to that round, but a great retake coming through from outsiders. Some aggression, yes, and as a tactical timeout gets called by BDS, that also tells you what you need to know. They expected to win that round. They should have won that round. They managed to get the plan down. They had quite some control, but they were unable to capitalize on it in the end. And that leaves outsiders with a very comfortable lead so far.
I mean, could have been a 5-0 sort of situation. Yep. The round that went away from them was a 1 versus 3 clutch out by Ranchero. Outsiders, they haven't come here to play. They're putting on a fantastic performance so far. Again, I just highlighted him at the end of that. Dan the man is playing that game and that role he used to do once upon a time when his previous rosters were at their greatest. But you're looking at guns like Rask, who we've talked about. There will be play days where Rask shows up and play days where he doesn't, and when he does, it's terrifying for the opponents because he has this habit and this ability to get into positions and cause problems. Then you can just keep going down the list of players for this roster that are putting in a performance. And BDS, they have those players too, don't get me wrong, but Likefak and Shaiko sort of sitting on 4 for 10 between the two of them. Alems as well brings it back to 5 to 15. Those are the passion players that you sort of need in a showdown against a roster of this caliber.
Yeah, normally you have Playday, you know, he just gets in and plans, makes a clutch happen every now and then, so you can't expect that to happen. Or Ranchero usually around like flank watch, something like that. You don't expect him to be leading the team in the amount of kills, but of course that clutch really helped out. And the second attempt as well. He's been left in these kind of situations, which has definitely pushed him up that scoreboard. The rest of BDS just slacking for now, or not quite able to catch up with the speed that Outsiders is playing with. And it's truly hurting them. Allowing Outsiders to, as you can see in the right top of your screen, maybe not even fight for the bottom 4, potentially fight for the top 4 at the end of this stage if they continue on this upwards trend. So this victory here against BDS will be a very important start to that. Let's look at that quick entry into dirt. 20 seconds have passed and he's already taking quite some ground. He's being careful though, wants to make sure there is no spot. The thing is, he needs to get that drone out first, but there is a mute jammer, so he cannot get the information down. If they want to go for a rush here, they'll end up in flames.
Can they try and turn their fortune on this? The last chance to do it on the turn of the half. Renshiro, he's tucked himself into the position where he's been able to put big damage before on the previous swing rounds. There's an angle and pressure. Shaiko's here for support. Suddenly, Dirt, which was otherwise never really a point of pressure, has a couple of bodies in. You can see they're trying to piece it together. Renshiro is able to get that opener. They have the split, the pressure. Pasha, he's in a very dangerous position as of this moment in time. All of the players are trying to filter their way back, and it's Dan that takes care of Renshiro. Pasha with the C4 towards the door, doesn't quite get it off in time. Playday slipped his way through. Milan's trying to make the distance round in the core of it. The impact over the top cannot get the connection onto Likefak, who gets himself a double here as the follow-up towards the rest of this. Sprayed and dropped, and BDS finally find something at the start and the end. That half was a sandwich of pain for them.
That C4 could have been huge if tossed only half a second earlier. Might have found both those players as they were about to move out to see if they could make the plans happen. Well done by BDS, good response. Saw the opening, again, made it happen on that bottom floor. And now they're up to the defense themselves. Instantly going back towards that basement. Mira being brought out. Vigil as well, so Likefak most likely will be on a bit of a roaming role. Trying to fool the drones that come out. Also see Playday going up top, so we might see some Mew Gemmers to be placed around that area to at least make sure that whoever is playing on the top floor has a bit more security.
Okay, BDS, what do we have here on the side of your defense? Because it's all you've got ahead of you. Outsiders, they can really start to put a bit of distance here. If they take the first or the second round and keep themselves just with this 2-round buffer, it would be, for them, perfect. Hurting either of the starting approaches. In fairness to them, their starting approach was hurt too. But it might come down to the guns that might have a little bit more freedom here to try and make the pace their own. Likefak, again, sorry to put the pressure on you, bud, but with the stats you've put on the previous Playdays, you've put it on yourself.
For sure, there's quite a bit of anticipation for Likefak to work well, perform well, push his team up to the next level. It's kind of what they said as well on the analyst desk. That is Likefak with an entry, finds Pasha by an impact opening in that garage, was probably on his drone, had no idea that he was currently being shot at there. So well done by BDS, well read. Oh, that's a default cam, yes.
Well.
Okay, that is, you know,
yeah, for everything.
Makes it more painful for Pasha.
I think for everything I've said about BDS utility, there is no bigger sin than not getting a default cam.
They still don't have it, by the way. Dan is now out on the cam as well. They're spotting him. They know
Thanks
exactly
for pointing it out. No.
Is someone still upstairs? If they are, they could just go for a jump out. Oh, they just clearing out that top floor now. So.
Yep, they're going for the control inside the top floor. They're generally internally on the building. Dan may be being revealed there from the pings, but he's not in a position to get caught out. You can see that, I mean, they still have it. And that is a minute 30. And being able to be at that point and comfortably saying, I know where they are, can be such a blow for, I guess, the approach of a team and the pressure of the unknown. It's such a big thing in this game. Here, Milan looking to try and drive in behind the hot drone. All the players are inside the site or just off the extensions on the ground floor. Church and Arsenal is a very wide play space alongside Dirt and Moto and Blue as well. It becomes a behemoth of a hold. 5 players can comfortably have territory of their own.
Now, a minute left on the clock. They're opening up vertically here. They're trying to get as much information and angles going their way. It's just that they're currently not being swung, and there's still C4s ready to fly back at them in the hands of BDS, so they need to be very careful. The more time ticks down, the more dangerous these nitro cells start to become, because especially if your diffuser carrier is isolated, that might just as well be round over.
Dan takes the Grismot on the swing. Another E1D as the break and the broach over the hatches comes through. They don't quite have the control of that, but they don't quite have that popping off. The mute jammer keeps things solid, and the impact keeps things clean. Swung off there, and Shiro's playing underneath the hatch itself. You're looking at 15 seconds, and Outsiders really have to get a bit of a move on here. They're trying to put pressure down. Shaiko pops his head out around the swing of Blue. Milan wants to try and get the pickup on the second fight, but look at the rotation that comes through across the board. It's an absolute slaughter from there. BDS keep blue, keep the round, and pull themselves one more back.
And this isn't surely, like, truly only to blame to the default cam still being up. Definitely helps being able to take out Pasha this early on. And as you said, with 1 minute 30, having a clue exactly of where they are and how they're progressing, whilst they're not knocking onto the front doors of the site yet, gives you the extra information, gives you the edge. However, there was just no, like, way in for Outsiders. They started opening up vertically. They tried to get grenades out. They weren't able to open up the walls that they wanted to open up. And then they just went for a Hail Mary and dropped themselves down whatever hatch or staircase they could drop themselves down off, right into the gunfire of BDS. So, well done to BDS there, able to keep Outsiders at bay. But I kind of want to see more out of the attack from Outsiders, and I hope that we get to see that over the next couple of rounds.
Yeah, shaky, rocky start there for the side of Outsiders. They've obviously done one half of their game very well. But here, BDS might be able to start sort of showing why they're a team that is supposed to be feared on a map like this. Because to be fair, around the middle of the previous half, it wasn't that Outsiders were playing a great game, which they were, but it was BDS just weren't playing like BDS. The utility clearance was scrappy. There were little mistakes threaded amongst it. Here, Outsiders, they're concerned about the possibility of another early breach against them. Still time.
That's definitely a lot of time. Default cam. Still up. Again. Know exactly where Milan is. Of course, it's not the first point of ingress that they are going for here on the Outsiders camp, but once they do decide to go for the balcony out there, it might start to get a bit tricky. The wall will be opened up soon. It's just a matter of time before Maverick has found the 4 anchor points and everything in between. They have it. Just a bit of soft breach necessary now to get rid of it. Quickly getting that drone out of the way. I was about to say, might want to salvage that one. We've seen in the last game that you kind of need them later on. The E1D popping now might indicate to some pace.
Okay, always. Can you try and get the lead in here? We saw a bit of punishment paid by the players in this position. Always is going to cut right through the line, not go for the true engagement. Liquifec has the realization of that and pulls himself quickly out of there. Has the support of Shaiko and Lems, but with that wall hard as well, there's still utility to be cleared. They don't quite have the true read that the player at the top of red is gone. The E1D goes behind it, down with the swing round and more of a breach. They're trying to catch a fish that's already swum to a different river at this moment in time. The ankle breach was the hope that a player would go through, and actually pretty wise of Liquifec to get out this early on. Let's look at that, another grenade, all of that's dropped. Milan up the top, and there's the reveal, but the drop and rotation has come through from Liquifec.
Yes, look to strike them in the back from the very last second. And for now, the flank is being held by Milan, but surely soon they'll start to head towards that side. And as these drones are being set up, well, that might prove to be even more difficult than usually. This is a quick check to see if anybody's on the jacuzzi outside or on the rooftops. Won't be able to spot anybody currently, so they know that one will be clear for now. But the player soon to be approaching that hatch, that might be the MX4 Storm finding Always.
That's it, Always. They knew he was droning, they knew he was looking, they knew he was hunting, but he might have no idea.
The default game is still up, by the way.
Saved by a ping. Is it?
Yes, Playday has been looking over the roof the entire time. Dan will find the first kill onto Lems. It's going to be a second one to come through from Pasha as well. So a 3-on-5 definitely favourite here for Outsiders on their attack if they manage to make this stick.
Well, there's Liquifec gone. There's Pasha getting Ranchiro as well. Playday, he might have been watching the default cam, but everybody else is dying everywhere else. Outsiders get a couple of plucky picks inside the site and then decide they want to be insiders for the rest of the round.
Nice.
Thank you.
Now, the camera was still up on the strip side of things, so Playday used that to look over the roof. That's why they knew that a player was about to be dropping through that hatch. Hence, Liquifec going to that position. It just never really came to fruition in the end there and wasn't able to connect the shots in the end. So, Outsiders able to find their attacking round, the first one. Needing an extra one here to put themselves up onto a guaranteed point.
It would be a blow to BDS. It would be one of those sort of pressure moments, but also to take more than that, you're already looking at it in the top right. Outsiders would leapfrog all the way up towards second place. And we said you want to try and, you know, when you've had the result that's happened earlier on, Heroic have been able to put a little bit of distance in. You gotta not just wound the team that's in second, keep this fight close before that distance starts to get wider and wider against those top 4 teams that you've got to make your must-win matches. Here, Outsiders have been able to put a little bit more pressure in, a bit of a change of face from the side of BDS, a little bit of an alternate. However, still with a lot of control over Intel.
Now, Outsiders, if they manage to pick up these points, that will be huge. And it's also the sign of the potential that they do have if they show it against BDS here. Of course, they might not be able to go for the first place as of yet, but they will just be aiming for a top 4 finishing position. In fact, we'll find Pasha, though, a great first kill.
Nice.
Yeah, and is able to rotate out as well before they even open up the wall. Oh, that's a diffuser drop. That's going to be taking some time.
I think Effect twice has now been able to get that early take there, and as you said, it's going to take some time to get this picked up. And at this point, the Effect again, once again, he's out of there. He doesn't stick around to find out. That's a fair play. He's got himself back into the power position. He played it off, got the stretch. Now he's got the utility to support him, and he's taken out the ace. The breach stays solid. Another 15 seconds of repelling his way back up. It is watched by a couple of guns, but at the same time, more work to be done.
Yeah, oh, they knew it was going to be a second attempt to come through, so hoping to go aggressive there, not finding the success. But of course, the cover was there as well onto the rafters of the garage. So the top floor has now fallen slightly. Side is still on there, of course, but the first part of it, and that is going to be their entry point that they look to go for as well on the side of Outsiders. Now, the dangerous thing is, something they have continued to forget is taking out these outside default camps. I'm not sure if those are still up currently, but rotations are starting to come around, and if that's the case, someone might be caught off again.
Let's just work on the assumption that they're not, and hope they've learnt. But here, always, he's looking towards some grenades, but he might not know how close the players are towards him. Behind the mirror window, gets popped, loses the utility to offer it some support, but the more important read is that the player is no longer there. The second doesn't quite have the scratch and the stretch, and he's concerned about the fight, but with less than a minute left now, Outsiders, they've got to restructure, they've got to see if they can try and get the lead in. They're pushing once again with one body less. They were able to get a really good flurry of fights last time they were on this site. Shaiko doesn't want to quite hand over the territory. He's ready to swing. It pops out. Dan gets one. The second is Shaiko's always. In the meantime, gets a Lems. There's Dan. A 2 versus 2. 30 seconds. Back and forth, but technically, Outsiders came out top of that engagement. They've been able to rebalance the body count. They've got to recollect the kit itself. They wanted to do just that, put the pressure onto that mirror window, but they're not going to hop and go for the 1 versus 1. Dan can offer some support here. There's the player just tucked around the swing. There's the player that's rotated towards the gym equipment as well for the width. They don't quite know where they are, and there's Playday popping up to prove the point. 5 seconds, 2 players left, and a kit in pocket. A BDS round.
Managed to secure it this time around. Also, more focused on the actual gunfights coming through. They were all aiming towards the same direction. I'm not quite sure how Shaiko managed to sneak past, because they were watching that rotate, saw him walk out, then saw him walk back in, and still decided to go for the aggression in the end there. So that might have just been not paying enough attention at the last couple of milliseconds of holding that angle. Either way, Outsiders, they look to go aggressive on the mirror window, unable to find success in the end. And BDS, with that, 1 round away now from equalizing the score towards Outsiders. And we're back towards that basement where we had the slaughter happen earlier. So Outsiders, they definitely need to change something here on their approach, that is.
Oh, still 1 round away. A lot of C4s from the side and the hold here. Last time, Liquefact got that early strike and took out the power position. Player of Pasha on the far side because of a default cam. And, you know, it's those sort of moments where what we're seeing from the side of Outsiders, they're taking a bit of time to get set up, but then they're more than happy to sort of 3, 2, 1 go it. And when they've had all 5 bodies available and open, it's gone very well. And before then, as soon as that body goes out, they seem to lose a little bit of steam. They lose a bit of the wind of the sails, and they find the round slowly sailing a little bit out of their control. It's that steady build on pace that you can sort of do on club, because the pace is often set before you, but it's something that BDS have been able to punish.
That was unisynchronized, yes.
Beautiful.
Synchronized vaulting. New sport in Siege.
Love it. Give me an event.
Some of these drones are being blocked out by mute jammers that were near the jacuzzi walls, so they will have to be recovered, but they're not going to be able to get the information quite yet that they need to get rid of the electrification on the other side of things. It is bandit wires. It should be easily gotten rid of, especially with these impact TMPs. Actually going to be able to find both there with a well-placed one, and that is going to be opening up, providing an opportunity for outsiders. In fact, Dust drops down as well, is not willing to stick around.
Now, with that open, as you said, Likefek, he's getting out of there, but he has, as I said before, a habit of rotating around for the full control. It is quite a play space to have the fight on here. He doesn't want to be the isolated first causing a problem, but the problem early seems to be the one that strikes outsiders the most. Here they have a bit of time. They can build themselves structure and evaluate the approach they'd like to go for and, I guess, get the full-fledged clarity that maybe he's left, which they're still trying to work out.
C4's being ripped, looking to try and find the sledge if he continues to open up, but it's run way too far out. Likefek on a bit of a chase, hoping to find the angle. Throws it out, detonates it, no joy for him. That's one gone, but they still have 2 more nitro cells to go with.
I mean, they're fully pocketed up for this. The damage always isn't going to stick around and see the rest as the pressure all starts to come around onto this hatch themselves. They're rolling the grenades. They want to try and bounce out, but it's
oh,
the
no
Team
way!
KN2 down! Oh no! That was almost the worst grenade we've ever seen! What a tragedy!
This is worse than Doki, though, I have to say. Doki just got 1 teammate with him. This 2 teammates that just got injured by that single grenade. Now, it might have been due to the fact that they're all, you know, stacked up on each other. Someone walks right in front of him as the detonation came through. At least one thing we can say is it's lucky that it's no longer the old grenades. That would have definitely killed them all as Rinchiro finds one. The buddy drops through the hatch. There's only 3 more to find right here as they, again, detonate an impact TMP, wanting to open up onto the triple wall right there, provide themselves with an entry onto the direct side.
I mean, they've given themselves a mountain on the back of this. That will be, a tricky moment. And probably an apology cake in the team room later.
Again, I don't know if it bounced back, if it was cooked a bit too long, or if someone just walked in front of it at the moment you released.
Could have been a mix of things.
Could have been everything.
You would have guilt.
You released that grenade in the end?
Everyone else has forgiven you, and it's your team now and yourself. That has to forgive yourself. Okay, 5-5, all back level. BDS, and here they might be able to push themselves 1 foot ahead, 1 foot closer towards the full 3 points. You can see how drastically that changes. Not just the position there for BDS of a difference between 2nd and 3rd, but 7th rather than 2nd for outsiders. They need this win.
Yeah, they definitely do. Or at least try and get as many points as you possibly can against BDS so you move up the rankings slightly. But yeah, it's only been 2 play days so far. This is the 3rd, which means that all these wins, they do have a massive impact on where you are in the standings at the end of the day. That effect is, of course, starting to get smaller and smaller as we progress. The earlier you get these points on the board, well, the easier it will be for you as you continue throughout the stage. We are playing bot and stage. Some verticalities are being opened up by BDS that will give you the idea that they would like to stop these plans from up above. Usually though, the attackers do answer this by taking top floor control into their own hands. Now, that usually stops the construction though, because if they want to plant stage, you do not need the bedrooms under your control. Those angles will not be hurting you if you try and get the plan down. Only the hatch that is located in construction would do so. So maybe we'll have some BDS players left up above, basically not dealt with by the side of outsiders that can go for a retake as soon as a plant starts to happen.
Likefek rotating out, causing problems and pulling himself further and further away. If you're unsure how most of the approaches come on a site like this, it's usually some control of stock. Then you try and put the pressure from the verticality to force the players away from construction, and you look towards planting either towards the stage or tucked in on the hard wall that connects both. But the fight is here, vertical. It's over the top. They got to try and force Rinchiro and Shaiko, especially out of the positions. It starts with the steady roll over the drive of CC and Cash. Shaiko has an idea of leaning back in, though.
Definitely wants to go a bit aggressive. Here's the... Oh, that's a free kill, but he doesn't get it onto Rask. Here, the exothermic, he wanted to go quickly, but he was unable to lock it down in the end, and I believe that the exothermic has been placed and not destroyed. And that means that if this Mute Jammer gets cleared out, which just happened, the breach comes through, and Shaiko is forced to leave.
Oh, Rask should be dead. That gun... I mean, you don't really see it in a lot of sort of games compared to that heavy-hitting DMR. That isn't a good advert for it. Pasha gets the end of Shaiko. The break onto the mirror window is going to force Renchiro into a trickier sort of position. Pulls himself back round the corner. It's not fully broken yet. There it goes. The mirror window popped. And well, with a minute left, they're rebalancing for, as I said, the take is usually this direction. And there's Likefak to find Milon with a spray through from Kitchen.
Shaiko with a very uncharacteristic miss there onto Rask, not able to lock it off, might prove very hurtful in the end because top floor now fully in control of the side of Outsiders. And Lems is still sneaking about on the staircase though, looking to go for a bit of a retake. Could definitely be detrimental here as Always opens up, but C4 flies out just in time. Finds Always as he walks right in front of it. And Pasha drops now as well. 2 on 4, Rask still quite low. This plan's not looking likely if it will happen. Likefak in the meantime in garage as well, taking heat from multiple different directions. It's going to be that crucial factor later on.
I mean, a pocket full of seconds. One's going to plant, the other's going to try and get it locked down. Not even that. Playday gets the end with a zapping camera. That is not always the kill cam we see.
It's the first time I've seen this particular view as well from Meister. That was quite cool.
That was cool.
Match point out. BDS have a single opportunity of locking this one out, and this might just come back to the age-old saying, do not take BDS to Clubhouse. Russian team has tried it previously. They failed. Another team is trying to do so now, and well, they started off really strong, Emmy.
They did.
It's just that they are letting go of that grasp a little bit too much now, and well, BDS taking it with all 10 fingers, making sure that they have the opportunity for a full 3 points now. Very unlucky bottle placement there from Always.
Or he just doesn't like people seeing him talk.
Oh, doubt.
There are lip readers out there.
Maybe he's the one that's currently giving out all the new strategies. And
I mean, there's lip readers. You cover your mouth.
you can cover your mouth or put a bottle in front of your camera.
Or put your bottle.
Worse.
Hey, things happen.
Match point.
Match point.
See, he removes it
There
now.
he goes.
Yeah, it was definitely something like that.
That's, I mean,
I've actually saw a discussion about that on Twitter where
Yeah.
people were like, why do we not see this in esports? Well,
why?
might just be it.
Yeah, people they're like, can we have the live listen in? In Siege, I mean, every esport is heated and tactical, but Siege is tactical.
Yeah.
You can't. I remember when like replays and the accessibility there, and people were like, "Well,
No, that's all our strats done. No,
yeah,
we're
there
saving
goes
them.
there goes any hiding of any cameras or drone placement,
Because-
especially."
Well, that's the thing, right? Like our observers, sometimes they catch a drone
They'll
placement
sometimes catch
or
a
a
drone.
black eye camera
They'll
placement.
catch like one drone end placement per round, potentially, if they're looking for it.
Yeah, but now everything
now-
is just out in the open.
But now there's no point.
He's just going past them all now, Medics.
Yeah,
He's like,
Medics
I'm
just
just
said,
going to prove
I
a
can do
point.
it if I wanted to prove a point. But at one point, if Medics had done that, people would have been like, how dare he reveal our strats?
Now it's replays. So Medics doesn't take the heat anymore.
Anyway, moral of the
Nitro.
story. Uh-oh. Pasha almost on the bad end once again of a Likefak surprise strike. And he will be. No, it's Pasha! Oi! Likefak struggles and fails that time round. It's still 2-1 in his favor, but now is maybe that most important round. For that to have connected, it could have defined it. Now it might be defined by it.
Also the garage out of control, which means that Shaiko is taking a bit more heat now. If they do decide to go up there, E1D pops off. It's definitely going to keep him stay put for a little bit. As the opening is about to be made here. I'm not quite sure if that's the Impact EMP coming through. That's going to be opening up extra avenues as well now. Renchiro walking right in front of it, deciding to hop back. He doesn't want to stick around there too long. And now they're just going to be covering off that one drop there. Shaiko stuck between two openings. Now, this wall will be opened up as well, but it is going to be Shaiko to quickly put down a bandit charge. Rask still has his exothermic in pocket. Needs to wait for a bit of help now before they can truly go for the opening. The Twitch drone wanting to achieve that definitely pushed him out of position.
Now they've really got to try and push this advantage. The body was handed to them. If they're not going to be able to take the full 3, they've got to make sure that they can at least try and do a bit of the distance and a bit of the difference and wound. They might still be able to get 2 out of it. Here's the swing. Shaiko, he's hoping to get the angle onto the player hanging on the long-range dangle instead of going by the cams. You can tell that those are something that's been picked apart. Otherwise, Shaiko's tucked himself here into construction, pulled back via the fire because he has no other option as the wall was getting breached anyway.
A minute left on the clock, 60 seconds to capitalize on this opening kill here for Outsiders and at least take a point home against BDS. That will be massive step forward already, losing an unfortunate drone there due to a mute jammer. Knowing, though, that the bathroom was clear, so not having to worry about that too much. But, of course, these players on BDS can move. They are nimble. They're willing to go for a fight, especially Shaiko, as he digs himself in right behind the A-bomb chest. But he needs to be careful because there's players still around the highway, which will catch him eventually.
There it is. Dan has a bit of the cover. They're trying to get themselves rebuilt around at 30 seconds. And with the kit still in Pasha's pockets, they're looking towards the back of that chassis. Renshiro, he's trying to get himself to be that swing player to make sure that they can't do it. Pre-fires and puts the pressure on, but Pasha's on the plant. Always has the cover from the swing. They've got it locked down. They're hoping at the C4. It's just in time. Always gets one more 10 seconds. It's Playday. As the last clutch factor, we are going to overtime.
We're going to find ourselves with 2 or 3 more rounds before we crown a victor in this matchup here. And Outsiders, they've managed to pick up 8 points against BDS here. They have shut them down from picking up all 3, and they will definitely come back to hurt BDS later down the line today. But more importantly, they need to make sure they find themselves their 2nd point now. If Outsiders will find that, then surely they might be in that top 4 contention at the end of this day or stage. And it will be Outsiders on that defense. To start it off, Jim and Bedroom first. Can they make the difference?
I mean, it's sort of that play around here. Jim was 100% for them and was maybe their most consistent lock-in, the only one that they played twice across the opener. But remember, the last one came down to Dan jumping out a window and hot-footing it towards Shaiko. BDS still got the kit down, it just got pulled back at the final seconds. So if they can put the distance here and then opens up the option CC, which is a 1-for-1 for them, or Church, which is a 1-for-3.
Well, they just need to make sure that everything is on point now. Cannot afford any of these mistakes. Maybe a slight one here or there, as long as you manage to tip the favors in your end, in the end. Openings being made quickly. Lems with the DMR. Quickly a player slipping out there from Outsiders as well. Liquefact almost finding Dan. Just wanted to open up that window. Might have not even had a clue that he was rotating up there, but it's some early damage done. Very importantly, because this grenade, if found by the right feet, could definitely pick one up. That's always now low as well, and almost burned right afterwards.
Liquefact has done 175% of damage to 2 players. But just missing the final bit to send them over the edge here. Pasha, he's holding the top of the stairs, hoping somebody tries to come up the brickwork, but it's Liquefact to finally find the end of Dan. Gets the lockout for 1 of his earlier bits of damage, the 2nd, and the fight there onto the mirror window misses both and doesn't want to risk getting caught out. He does find it. Didn't sound like he got the pop, but he just got that final one. Now he's trying to put some quick pressure here up the staircase. It's going to be a swing round fight, and he doesn't quite get the win out. Pasha had the position. Now he's got himself in a bit of a position here. He knows the pressure could come from multiple different angles, but as long as the top's open, that's not a route he can really take.
He's also stuck on those main stairs now. Will definitely be a watch. You saw Shaiko right there holding a very tight angle with the R4C. Phone calls are coming out. BDS looking to make a move happen, but first they need to find out what exactly is clear. Now, logistics currently has no one in it, so there is an opportunity to move there, and they're definitely looking to do so, but first want to open up that wall a bit more, provide themselves with a bit more depth. as Milan is forcing himself back towards the side. There's Renshiro inside already.
Oh, he's inside, and if they don't know that he's got to this position, Milan could suffer if he goes for the swing round. This C4 ready, ripped, and wants to fly out the open mirror window. Milan pulls himself back. Do they know Renshiro's there? I don't think they do. They're looking towards the hatch. There's a swing and a reveal. Milan's caught from two sides. Alem's got the drop on the back line. CC's as Alem's next. And there's the difference. A heft DMR can make an engagement. Pasherin always the course, the back, but Alem's has one and Shaiko the other. BDS once again 1 foot ahead.
Now, Outsiders is not beaten yet, but leaving logistics empty there, a huge mistake. They took it with both hands. They inserted a player down there, and on the back of drones and information, able to shut down two singular players on the Outsiders camp inside of the site. And that just opens up too much space. There's almost no coming back from that one. And also not beaten yet. There is still two opportunities for them to, first of all, bring it back to 7-7, and after that, close it off. It could also just end with a single mistake in this next round. They are on the attack. They need to take the initiative. And when they were attacking this basement the first time around, it was an absolute slaughter.
Well, if we talk about site statistics, Church is the one that has been consistently on the side of BDS. The 5 times we've seen it this game, 4 of them have gone into the favor. 2 either side of the half. Could this be the one final time needed here? Outsiders, can they try and shake things up? Put some of the pressure across. A tragedy over that hatch. I mean, I'm not going to say it cost them the round because there was still all of the round left to play. But it definitely hurt it.
All right. BDS, can you end things here? Can you make sure you find these 2 points? The point already means a lot for Outsiders. As you can see, they do move up the rankings, but the second would be better, clearly, obviously. BDS looking for those points as well. They want to go to the major. They want to qualify after missing out on the last one. And taking a victory here would be a massive first step.
Outsiders, they're looking for a bit of a pacey approach here. They've previously suffered early bodies taken away from the free range play of Likefak. This time, they've at least got some of that awareness, but he's never quite done striking. And in the position he's playing right now, he could try and swing and loose that C4 a bit earlier if the pressure comes directly above him. Playday has an attention towards dirt. There's a control that, to be fair, hasn't always been played here on the approach by Outsiders. They've not entirely thrown themselves into it the same way BDS did on their successful attack around here.
Just got droned out there, moved out in time before he was about to be struck by any of the players from Outsiders. He pushed on though, could have maybe found gold, but it's better to be safe in a situation like this rather than take the risk and make sure that you might lose it all. And as Outsiders with 1:30 left on the clock are starting to prepare, opening up barricades, hatches, floorings, everything you can imagine. They want to find themselves in the best possible position that a C4 could have caught of always.
Still one more in pocket. They have the impacts to try and trick against the kitchen hatch itself. Milan, he's going for a clear, a strip via his face, and that's going to take about 15 seconds out of the route and the run. Suffers a bit of a scrape from the end of it, coming back into the pass with the door held on the side there of Moto, but BDS seem to have a good idea of where the push is coming from this time. They're playing around with Bandit. There's another C4 prepped. No catch.
Again, always escaping death there. Opening will soon be attempted to be made, but Likefak still around. And there you have it. Xcaris will be taken care of. Potentially, no, the stun grenades come through. Elems will find always, though, so the first entry does go BDS's way, even though they have opened up slightly onto the triple wall on site.
Yeah, perfect demonstration of how to get past somebody actively bandit tricking, and now they force them back, but with the body gone, this is something we talked about before, 20 seconds, and they got to try and make things happen now, and they've already been a little bit crumbled. Rask, he's tucked around on the close fight. There's still electricity. There's Likefak swinging onto one side. There's the rest of the wall, but Likefak, oh, he wants to try and take the fight. There it is, locked out a cold kit. There's no way to collect it at this point. BDS, they find themselves with the full 2 points. Outsiders at least scrape 1.
They will continue their unbeaten streak here on Clubhouse, but it did get very close in the end there. Outsiders, they truly put up a fight up until overtime. Then BDS managed to finally end things there with nice Bandit Elite MVP animation. Wanted to put on the sunglasses, but of course the default skin does not have those. So
Does not.
Does not have that. And with that, 8-6, maybe not the result many would have expected from BDS to come up against Outsiders here, but it is the result we got. 2 points for them, 1 for Outsiders. Both will continue forward.
It was a great drive from Outsiders. It was huge rounds. And again, as they said before, there are teams still forming. Well, they formed some good rounds, but BDS, they still keep their almost perfect form on club. We'll take a quick break before we're back with the desk.